Hello folks, this is another Joy of Adventure training video. We've chatted about the practicalities and some of the principles of expedition food, and today I'd like to just have a chat about potential lunch options. Going back to the principles, whatever you have for lunch has got to be something that you want to eat. It needs to be tasty, it needs to be food that you like to eat, but it also needs to be nutritious and balanced, plenty of energy, but not just chocolate bars all day. Okay, so on the table here we've got a selection of some of the things that perhaps I like to take when I go on expeditions. You can obviously make your own choices, but let's look at some of the sort of practicalities. We've got the mainstay of lunch, okay, and also we've got snacks. So looking at lunchy type stuff, often perhaps on packed lunches we'd have sandwiches. Doesn't tend to last very well on expedition bread, okay, tends to get squashed. Much better tends to be things like wraps, or maybe oat cakes, or biscuits, or pita breads, and bread rolls, and things that don't mind being shoved into the bottom of a dry bag or a barrel. What are we going to have on them? I guess sometimes we like butter on our sandwiches, but again, thinking about practicalities, taking a big container like this, especially if it's hot, is going to be a recipe for disaster. Maybe you can decant it down. Maybe you decide actually you do without that in the summer because it's more hassle than it's actually worth. Again, cheese, chorizo, salami, maybe tinned fish, things like that. They're all great. Perhaps a little bit of thoughts around food hygiene if it's going to be hot weather. And again, maybe decanting stuff down into either plastic sandwich bags or small Tupperwares to make it a more practical size. Obviously you could buy salami pre-sliced. You might like spreads, so we've got some peanut butter here, got some honey. Again, you've got jars, perhaps versus more practical containers, squeezy plastic containers. You can also buy plastic jars, so this peanut butter here is in a plastic jar as opposed to a glass jar. So pros and cons. So environmentally, I think the glass jar is probably preferable. So it could be that you could decant that into a small reusable container, but also actually a few plastic jars are quite a useful thing if you're going to be doing a few expeditions. Wash them out afterwards, refill them, reuse it. It doesn't have to be single-use plastic jars. It might be that you would like some warm lunch. So there are various options that can be produced quite quickly. There are ready cooked things like this that you could just heat up. Probably you want to avoid having to get your stoves out at lunchtime. It's a whole lot more hassle, it's a whole lot more stuff to unpack. It could be that you could just have a hot flask that you've prepped in the morning, knowing that you want some hot drinks or hot food, and then instant cup of soups, maybe instant noodles that just need hot water. Oops, there we go, that need hot water added to them. They might be a good option for a warm lunchtime if it's a particularly cold day. I've also got things like couscous here, which do the same job. Other lunchy sort of stuff, I guess linked into these, maybe like a hot drink if it's a cold day. So, hot chocolate or something like that that only requires water to be added is a really simple option. Cup of soups as well that we've mentioned. And this is quite a big container. You might want to decant that down into either Ziploc bags, smaller Tupperwares, or maybe actually for a group that might be the right amount for your expedition. We've got other little options as well, so hot juices and stuff like that which are concentrated, so a quick squirt of those will go quite a long way. I like to have fruit, but I realise that things like bananas and stuff probably won't last very long. They might do for the first day, and again apples tend to be a bit vulnerable. Oranges are much better, they last quite well on an expedition, and particularly if it's hot they're really nice. Dried fruit works well as well, so you might not be able to take fresh apples, but dried apple rings, nice. Not quite as nice, but they're still pretty good. You can stuff them in your dry bags. So dried fruits, they're good. Nuts, you might even want to mix those in your own little day pack, so a little bag of mixed nuts, maybe even break some chocolate into it, a bag of yummies that you can use for the day, put a few sweets in there as well. Other things that are good, biscuits, malt those with the tip, good, they're squashable, they're in a waterproof container, perfect expedition food. Some yummy bars you might want to put in your buoyancy aid along the way. Maybe you'd like to make your own flapjack, so much more cost efficient. Rather than, probably for the price of one of these, you can make a whole tray full of flapjack, and again, put them in little Tupperwares or maybe Ziploc plastic bags like that. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas of lunch options. Just remember, they need to be practical. You want it accessible on the day, so maybe you work out what your lunch is going to be for day one, and that all goes in either a Tupperware pot or some bags or a mixture, so you haven't got to get the whole food barrel out in the middle of the day. You've sorted out what you need for that day. You've got your snacks, you've got your lunch, it's handy, and it's ready to go when you're out there, particularly if the weather's bad. Hopefully that's useful.